Hoy entrevistaremos a Michal
Today we will be
Hershkovitz,
interviewing Michal
embajadora del
Hershkovitz,
Estado de Israel en
Ambassador
Uruguay.
of the
Desde
Israel
julio
State
ha presentado cartas
in
credenciales
Uruguay,
en el mes de
having presented her
septiembre.
credentials in
Y bueno,
in September.
nos recibe a estudiantes
She's
de la
welcoming
UDELAR,
the
de
students
Relaciones
of the
Internacionales,
Universidad de la
de Ciencias
República,
Políticas, de
International
Comunicación.
Relations and
También, bueno,
Communications
agradecerle
students. We want to thank you
a usted y al equipo.
and also your team.
Y también, bueno, a nuestros camarógrafos por estar
And of
aquí hoy
course our
presentes.
photographers for being
Quiero
here today.
comenzar este encuentro
We'd
preguntándole
like to start by
sobre su
asking you
vivencia
about
profesional y
your
personal
experience, your professional and
del
personal
conflicto.
experience about the conflict,
Israel-Hamas.
about the Israel-Hamas conflict.
Okay, thank you very much for having me at this interview, and
Muchas
wish you
gracias por-
success in your studies and later on. Every Israeli, without being in any position, has experience with the Israeli-Hamas conflict. We have been suffering Hamas rockets and missiles for
Cada
years.
israelí ha estado sufriendo este conflicto Israel-Hamas desde los cohetes hasta todo lo que está sucediendo.
Since 2007, when Hamas took over the rule of Gaza, he has been conducting terror activities against Israel and against the Palestinian population
Hamas desde
there.
el 2007, desde que tomó el poder, ha estado realizando atentados terroristas contra el pueblo de Israel.
And of course, in my capacity as an Israeli diplomat, in the past 15 years, we have been calling against Hamas terror activities. We have been conducting several rounds of operations there against the Hamas terror group. We've never seen and encountered such massacre as happened in 7th of October.
Nunca hemos visto en mis últimos 15 años como diplomática atentados tan terribles como los que estamos viendo ahora en este conflicto.
This is the biggest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust.
Esta es la mayor masacre de judíos desde el Holocausto.
¿Qué sucedió el día 7 de octubre?
What happened on October 7th?
Very early in the morning, thousands of Hamas terrorists entered Israel. They killed everyone in their way. It was a very well-planned attack. They came from air, from land, under the ground, and by sea.
Muy temprano en la mañana miles de terroristas ingresaron por tierra, por aire, de forma subterránea, matando a todos a su paso.
They killed people in the streets, in their cars, on the way to synagogues. It was a day of holiday, a religious day it was a Saturday and a day of holiday
Sábado,
in
día
Israel.
de festejo religioso, mataron a gente en su camino a la sinagoga, en su camino al trabajo, en las calles.
They went into people's houses and they killed families, children, entire families. They abused the women, they raped them, many of them.
Ingresaron en casas, mataron a las familias enteras, abusaron de mujeres.
They not only raped women, they cut parts of the bodies of the people of the house, making family members watch each other being tortured before they were killed.
Violaron mujeres, cortaron pedazos de cuerpos, hicieron que los familiares miraran estas torturas.
They burned families, they burned places to the ground, in houses that they couldn't reach the people. They put it on fire in order to get the people to escape from the fire, and then they will be able to kill them.
Incendiaron lugares para hacer escapar a las personas y poder matarlas así.
They reached the party for peace, the party in Re'im area, and they killed, now we know to say, about 350 young people, young Israelis in their 20s or so, a little bit older, or really young people that all they wanted to do is go out and dance, and they just butchered them.
Asesinaron a más de 350 jóvenes, personas muy jóvenes, que solo querían divertirse.
There are evidence of what happened. there is one video. There are many evidence and many videos, but you see going into the party and seeing huge amount of bodies, and our police saying, "Can anyone give me a signal of life? Can anyone respond? Can anyone respond?" And nobody is responding.
Hay muchos videos, mucha evidencia de ingresar en la fiesta, una cantidad enorme de cuerpos y la policía israelí diciendo alguien puede darme una señal de vida y nadie responde.
And of course they kidnapped more than 240 people, some of them alive, some of them dead. They kidnapped from babies of a few months old until elderly Holocaust survivors.
Y por supuesto los secuestros, más de 240 personas, vivas y muertas, bebés, personas mayores, incluso sobrevivientes del Holocausto.
It took us a lot of time to understand to try to understand the conditions of the kidnapped. We still don't know what is their condition. This is only a small part of the pictures of those that were kidnapped. Some we know that were killed there in captivity, some we know were led there dead, some we know were led there alive, but we don't know what is their condition.
Seguimos intentando entender las condiciones de estos secuestros, pero todavía no lo sabemos. Aquí podemos ver detrás mío solo una pequeña parte de los secuestrados, algunos de ellos sabemos que ya fueron asesinados.
Los secuestrados han ido en aumento.
The kidnapped persons have been increasing.
Actualmente, ¿cuál es la cifra oficial
What is the official number of kidnapped
de
people?
secuestrados y también
Currently.
agregarle de asesinatos?
And also of murdered people.
There are kidnapped 239 people. We've found the bodies of several. We've managed to free one alive, but unfortunately we see more and more evidence of those who are dead. And now, a few days ago, when we reached Shifa hospital, we found the bodies of two Israelis that were murdered by Hamas, and we found their bodies in the hospital or near the hospital.
Son 239 los secuestrados, hemos encontrado los cuerpos de varios, liberamos solamente a uno vivo, sabemos que hay más muertos y hace pocos días en el hospital de Shifa encontramos 2 cuerpos más.
About the number of the dead, it is changing, and it's a good question. Why is it changing? The conditions of many of the bodies, it's unidentifiable. We have teams that are still working. At first, it was a regular rescue team that normally would go to accident sites, and they will retrieve bodies. Then, when the war, in the few first days of the war, we spent a lot of the time recovering bodies and parts of bodies of people to determine their condition. For instance, Shani Luke, one of the kidnapped person, we found her cheekbone. They found her cheekbone, and from this small part, our experts could say that she cannot be alive, so we could determine that she is dead.
La cantidad de muertos sigue cambiando y es una buena pregunta de entender por qué las condiciones de los cuerpos suelen ser no identificables. Nuestros equipos trabajan en ello. Inicialmente, durante los primeros días, un equipo de rescate que regularmente trabaja en la atención de accidentes. Por ejemplo, en el caso de la víctima Shani Luke, identificamos una mejilla suya. Entonces, el equipo pudo saber así que no, era imposible que estuviera con vida. Y ese es el tipo de trabajo que estamos realizando.
There was a story, it was in the news a lot, a father and a daughter that she's handicapped, and her love was go dancing, and she was at the party. He went with her everywhere, and he took her dancing in different parties. And at first they didn't know their condition, and then they found his body, but they found only his body and not the daughter. And the family said, no, they have to be together. You have to keep on looking. It cannot be. He wouldn't leave her. But they couldn't. And they made a funeral and they buried the father. And 2 weeks later, they found evidence that she is dead also. And they had to retrieve the body from the ground. and they were completely burned. And then when from this, they took the body from the ground and they understood that they buried 3 different people together and they thought it's one. This is the level of unidentification of the bodies.
El nivel de no identificación realmente es terrible. Está el caso de un padre y una hija, ella discapacitada, que amaba bailar, el padre la llevaba a fiestas, a todos lados para que pudiera hacerlo. Lo encontraron a él asesinado y a la niña no la encontraban y la familia dijo tiene que estar, él no la dejaría sola. 2 semanas más tarde la encontraron también, debieron recuperar el cuerpo y finalmente se dieron cuenta de que lo que creían que era un cuerpo eran restos, eran 3 restos de cadáveres diferentes. Este es el nivel de no identificación de nuestros asesinados.
¿Cuál es la situación actual en Gaza?
What is the current
Principalmente
situation in the
en
Strip
los
of Gaza,
hospitales.
particularly in the hospitals?
Hamas has been using the hospitals in Gaza for its use. Even more so when people have started going south. It has taken over different hospitals and now they completely became military bases with shootout points, with places to store weapons. We have seen a lot of evidence of Hamas use of the hospitals for himself. In Shifa hospital, for instance, underneath the ground, there is a complete city of Hamas underneath the ground.
Hamas usa los hospitales para uso propio. Cuando empezaron a huir hacia el sur, por ejemplo, fueron tomando hospitales, tienen allí bases militares, almacenan armas. En el hospital de Shifa, por ejemplo, bajo tierra hay ciudades enteras.
They have hundreds of kilometers of tunnels underground with rooms that they created underground that they are protected from missiles from the air. And we show evidence that also in Shifa hospital they use this and they use these places as command and control of Hamas. They used Shifa they took the hostages to Shifa. We show videos of kidnapped people that arrived into Shifa. We saw evidence of them being hostages kept there with ropes to tie them to chairs, with baby bottles to feed, with diapers underground, that it is clear that there is no reason to have this kind of room separate and protected.
Por ejemplo, hay habitaciones antimisiles, tenemos evidencia y videos que muestran a los rehenes atados a sillas, biberones y elementos para bebés, cosas que no tendrían por qué estar ahí y que son para los rehenes. Tenemos evidencia de esto, por ejemplo, en diferentes hospitales.
So we see a huge use of hospitals by Hamas, and we have called the population of Gaza for their safety to move to the south, and fortunately many have done so, and we hope we will be able to find our kidnapped.
Le solicitamos por su propia seguridad a los ciudadanos de Gaza que se desplazaron hacia el sur y por suerte muchos lo han hecho. Y realmente lo que queremos es encontrar a los secuestrados.